Reactions from All Elite Wrestling and Warner Bros. Discovery over the record low ratings and viewership numbers for AEW Dynamite this week on TBS. Why did we have these record lows? Was it because of a different lead-in? Was it because of the content? Was it because of the quality? Was it because of competition? We'll let you know all of the factors in that, as well as the quarter-hour ratings. Jacob Fatu has finally made his long-anticipated WWE debut this week on Friday Night SmackDown on Fox in Chicago, attacking Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. CM Punk earlier on in the evening reunited with Paul Heyman, but his evening didn't end well as Drew McIntyre returns to WWE after quitting the company just 4 days earlier and hospitalizes Punk in his hometown of Chicago. Several stars from SmackDown qualified for their respective Money in the Bank ladder matches. Plus, Chad Gable is medically cleared to compete Monday night on Raw after the attack from the Wyatt Six. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's start off talking about the fallout, the reaction to the record low viewership and rating numbers for this past week's episode of AEW Dynamite. Now, if you're not familiar, it was a story that broke last night. The ratings were delayed due to a holiday, but this week's AEW Dynamite have been posted and they are the show's lowest ever ratings and viewership number in its normal time slots. Now, as we covered yesterday, according to metrics shared by Programming Insider and later confirmed by WrestleNomics, Wednesday's Dynamite drew in just 502,000 viewers on average, with a 0.16 in the 18 to 49 rating. Now, overall, viewership dropped by a whopping 26% compared to last week, while the key demographic fell by a huge 30%. Now, the poor rating for the most recent Dynamite is the latest entry in a trend of disappointing viewership for the company. So far, overall viewership in June of this year is down 24% compared to June of last year. And the 18-49 demographic has dropped even slightly more than that. Now, the decline in ratings comes at a pretty precarious time as AEW is entering the final months of its current television deal with Warner Bros. Discovery, with negotiations ongoing. Now, Tony Khan, the AEW president and CEO, will soon be able to speak with other media companies about another deal, but it's undeniable that stronger ratings would put AEW in a stronger position to negotiate. Now, when it comes to the quarter-hour ratings, these come courtesy of WrestleNomics, so shout out to them. Be sure to subscribe to their Patreon service. As you can see right there, everything is below the average of the last 90 days, which is not surprising considering, once again, this is a record low viewership and rating for Dynamite. Now, Wednesday's episode kicked off with MJF's first match of 2024, which saw him face Roosh in a contest that has been built up over the last several weeks. Additionally, AEW champion Swerve Strickland had a face-to-face confrontation with Will Ospreay. The Young Bucks were in action against the Acclaimed, and the main event began this year's Owen Hart Cup tournament with a match between Pac and Claudio Castagnoli. Now, the quarter-hour ratings tell a tale of a generally declining viewership, with MJF's match starting off the show as the high point with just 586,000 overall viewers and an 18-49 rating of a 0.22. Now, there was a modest increase from 8:45 Eastern through 9:15, with segments featuring stars like Mercedes Moné, the Young Bucks, and timeless Toni Storm. However, by the show's overrun at the end, viewership had dropped to 423,000 viewers on average and a 0.12 in the key demographic. Now, what about reasons for all of this? We'll get into that in just a second. The show took place on Juneteenth National Independence Day, which celebrates the end of slavery in the United States and was introduced as a federal holiday in 2021. That night's cable rankings had both the College World Series and Expedition Unknown on Discovery outranking Dynamite. Additionally, Amazon was streaming a live special featuring rapper Kendrick Lamar performing in Inglewood, California. Though it garnered a great deal of conversation online, Amazon does not release public viewership figures for its program, so you can't tell exactly how many people tuned in. Now, in terms of, as I mentioned, the reaction internally from AEW and from Warner Bros. Discovery, many people were wondering, again, what was going to be the feedback? Were people in AEW going to be worried? Were people in WBD going to be upset? Well, A new report has come out from Fightful Select explaining the general reaction to all of this. Now, AEW Dynamite, as I mentioned, for June 19, did a historically low number for the company. Fightful Select say they reached out to numerous sources within AEW and WBD to get their thoughts on it. According to Programming Insider, Dynamite on June 19 drew 502,000 viewers. The number is down significantly from the prior week, which was still, as many people were kind of suggesting, a bit of a low number, 681,000 viewers on June 12. It is, as I mentioned, the lowest viewership for a non-preempted show in Dynamite history. Fightful Select spoke with AEW sources about their feelings on the number and how they rationalized it. Now, Fightful have been told that the typical lead-in for AEW, Big Bang Theory, usually does a demo number of 200 to 250,000 for their final quarter hour. This week's lead-in was Black Panther, which they said landed at under 85,000 in the demo for the final quarter, a significant drop-off. They believe that the missing people were the lead-in watchers that didn't exist this week. Now, AEW were told that the, quote, tune-in number ended up being strong because of the lead-in drop-off. Now, AEW talent that Fightful spoke to say they were surprised by the number. When Fightful reached out to a WBD rep about the number, they said, quote, just a very odd week in general, and a confluence of stuff, Juneteenth holiday in the middle of the week. When does a midweek holiday ever happen in late spring/summer months? Competition with Olympic trials and college baseball or World Series in prime time. Amazing weather in much of the country, especially up here in the Northeast. So lots of people out and about. Wouldn't really put too much into 1 week's number, although I know wrestling community likes to go nuclear with these kind of one-offs, end quotes, indicating that they expect the number to increase or at least go back to the recent normal next week. According to Fightful, another WBD source says that this number does not affect the potential of a new AEW-WBD deal. Neither WBD or AEW sources brought up the Kendrick Lamar concert broadcast on Wednesday, suggesting that they weren't really looking too much into that. Now, as far as, once again, how Dynamite ranked in terms of the viewership on cable, according to Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, Dynamite on Wednesday was ranked number 9 for the day among cable originals in the 18 to 49. Now, shows that were above it were College Baseball, Sports Center, Expedition Unknown, the UEFA European Championship, Sports Center, College Baseball, once again, another European Championship match, lots of sport above it. Now, as far as the Big Bang Theory lead-in, which many people are suggesting was the real cause for this, or at least that's what some people are saying, according to Thurston, the Big Bang Theory was not the lead-in for Dynamite this week, which is unusual. Instead, the film Black Panther was the lead-in on TBS, which had a lower viewership than the Big Bang Theory regularly provides as the lead-in. The Big Bang Theory is one of the most highly viewed rerun series on all of traditional television, and is often a strong lead-in for Dynamite, boosting the early quarter hours of the AEW show. Last week, the final quarter hour of The Big Bang Theory at 7:45 p.m. averaged 229,000 viewers aged 18 to 49, or a 0.17 18 to 49 rating. This week, the last quarter hour for Black Panther averaged just 84,000 viewers in the demo, or a 0.06 18 to 49 rating. Now, what were some of the lower ratings in Dynamite's history? Well, in terms of 18 to 49 viewership, Dynamite has never had a smaller 18 to 49 audience than this past Wednesday, a 0.16 18 to 49 rating, or just 213,000 viewers in the age group. That includes preemptions. Only 2 episodes, both preemptions, had lower total viewership on June 4, 2021 and June 11, 2021, both Fridays with a 10 p.m. start time on TNT, when Dynamite averaged 462,000 and 487,000 viewers respectively. So again, not good numbers whatsoever, and again, this isn't a preempted episode. Now, what it means for AEW, again, time will tell to see what happens if they rebound next week and they go back to normal. But what are your thoughts on all of this? What do you think the reason is? Do you think it's a case of the content? Do you think it's the case of the quality? Do you think it's a case of the booking? Do you think it's the case of it's not must-see TV? Do you think it's a case of competition? Do you think it's a case of the national holiday? Do you think it's a case of a lead-in being different? What do you think is the most prominent reasons, or are there several that are all contributing to this record low number this week for AEW? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments section below. Now, finally, Jacob Fatu has made his WWE debut. The newest member of the Bloodline made his debut after the main event of SmackDown on Friday, making a big impression after sending undisputed WWE Champion Cody Rhodes through the announce desk with a big splash from the top rope. Jacob Fatu made his debut to help his cousin, the new head of the table Solo Sikoa, against Rhodes, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, following a match between Rhodes and Sikoa. Sikoa was set to face off against Rhodes, with none of the Bloodline ringside, but Tama Tonga and Tanga Loa made their presence known shortly after the bell rang for the match, causing the disqualification. Orton's and Owens ran down the ramp to help Rhodes against the staple, and all three men had Sikoa backed into the corner of the ring, where he started groveling to be spared before breaking into a grin and smile and laugh. That's when Fatu debuted, sneaking up behind Rhodes, Orton and Owens, taking the latter two men out before beating down Rhodes. Fatu got him onto the announce desk and hit a big splash from the top rope of the ring. He then got back in the ring and hugged Sikoa, and Fatu, Sikoa, Tonga and Leoa raised their wands in the middle of the ring as SmackDown went off the air. He also put Randy Orton through the barricade and hit a Samoan drop on Kevin Owens on the steel ring steps. Fatu, a former Major League Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, revealed he had agreed to a deal with WWE over WrestleMania 40 weekend in April. He had been a free agent for much of 2024 prior to signing with the company. So Jacob Fatu is now back. But what about Roman Reigns? Well, of course, as always, the crowd were chanting, "We want Roman," in Paul Heyman's appearances on the show. Before the main event match, there was a backstage segment featuring Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa from the Gorilla area backstage. Heyman told Solo about some of the instructions Heyman had received from Roman Reigns after WrestleMania. Among those, CM Punk was off limits and Cody Rhodes was simply meant to remain under control in Reigns' absence so that Reigns could go after him when he returned. But before going to the ring, Solo Sikoa stated to Paul Heyman that Roman Reigns is, quote, "not coming back." Sikoa added that because that he was letting Heyman know because he loved him, but Heyman appeared to be devastated. He also didn't provide any additional information regarding what he means or how he knows about that information. So where do you think this one is going when it comes to the Bloodline? Jacob Fatu has now debuted. You've got Tama Tonga, you've got Tonga Loa. You've obviously got Solo Sikoa. Do you think Roman Reigns is going to return and feud with them? Is it going to be a new Bloodline versus old Bloodline? What are your reactions to Jacob Fatu's debut last night? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, the show kicked off with CM Punk. We didn't get any confirmation about being medically cleared, but we did get a reunion with CM Punk and his former advocate, Paul Heyman. Now, CM Punk reunited with Heyman briefly during Friday's episode of SmackDown in front of his hometown of Chicago, Illinois, after interfering in rival Drew McIntyre's World Heavyweight Championship match at Clash at the Castle over the weekend, costing the Scottish Warrior a chance at gold. Now, during his promo, Punk referenced his July 2011 appearance in the city at Money in the Bank, where he won the WWE Championship, promising everyone he was going to walk out of his hometown as champion. He also mentioned the fact that he was told he would get jumped in Glasgow if he interfered, and the fans would have his head on a pike, but that didn't happen. Punk went on to run down McIntyre before Heyman walked down the ramp to interrupt. Heyman called Punk his best friend, despite being the wise man for Roman Reigns. Heyman embraced Punk and then wiped away tears as he talked about hearing Chicago sports radio talk about Punk. He said Solo Sikoa was upset hearing the Chicago radio host call Chicago's Punk City, as the new head of the table wants every town to be his town. Heyman warned Punk that the Bloodline was coming for him, and he advised him to leave the arena. Sikoa's music hit, and he walked down the ramp with Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. Sikoa warned Punk that he could either acknowledge him or get beat down. Punk then turned to Heyman and asked what he wanted in return for Punk doing him a favor, to which Heyman replied that he wanted Punk to take me with you. Punk acknowledged Sikoa as a phony tribal chief before being surrounded by the Bloodline. But then undisputed WWE Champion Cody Rhodes, who had been challenged by the Bloodline following his victory at Clash at the Castle, then appeared. Rhodes then told Sikoa on the mic that he already had beaten one head of the table and he was ready for a battle with another. Rhodes then challenged Sikoa to the one-on-one match, which led to the debut of Jacob Fatu later on in the evening. Now, as I mentioned, we didn't get any confirmation about CM Punk being cleared. He had teased after Clash at the Castle he was hoping to come to Chicago with good news. We didn't hear about that, but we did see a little bit of physicality, not in a good way for Punk though, because he was hospitalized by a returning Drew McIntyre, who was out for revenge and vengeance. On the June 17 episode of Raw, Drew McIntyre unceremoniously announced in no uncertain terms that he quit WWE. Now, as the SmackDown garage door opened during a backstage segment involving DIY and one half of the WWE Tag Team Champions Grayson Waller, McIntyre hoisted a bloodied CM Punk onto his shoulders and made it known in no uncertain terms that he was here to stay and he was back for revenge. Now, the wrestling world was set abuzz immediately following McIntyre's announcement, but the drama was somewhat undercut by the fact that, of course, he had just signed a new WWE contract earlier this year. Now, it had been confirmed that this was part of the storyline between McIntyre and Punk, and notably not a reason to give McIntyre time off to spend with his wife, who is currently recovering from emergency surgery. McIntyre, his social media accounts were also restored on Friday after being deleted on Monday. McIntyre's return on SmackDown came as a shock to many as he maimed Punk in the latter's hometown. The entire backstage area was stunned into silence as McIntyre lifted a battered and limp and bloodied Punk into a fireman's carry before making a beeline to the ramp. As he appeared before a stunned Chicago crowd, McIntyre dumped Punk, who notably landed on his tricep, before Nick Aldis and other WWE officials finally ran out to intercept the enraged Scott. McIntyre was escorted to the back, and Punk was last seen being lifted onto a stretcher and put into the back of an ambulance. Now, Corey Graves, SmackDown lead commentator, announced that updates on Punk's condition would be made on social media throughout the evening. Of course, the animosity, it runs deep here because, of course, it was Drew McIntyre that injured CM Punk at the Men's Royal Rumble earlier on this year, taking him out of WrestleMania. CM Punk then cost McIntyre the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania after he just defeated Seth Rollins, allowing Damian Priest to cash in, and then it reached a fever pitch this past weekend at the Clash at the Castle PLE, when once again CM Punk cost Drew McIntyre the World Heavyweight Championship in his home country of Scotland. It looks like certainly we're on the road to a match. It had been reported previously the intention was to do the match at SummerSlam. If we find out any more details on this, we'll let you know in a future video. Now, several stars have qualified for the upcoming Money in the Bank ladder matches at the titular PLE. Money in the Bank is just over 2 weeks away, and the playing field for the historic ladder match has become more clear following the events of Friday's edition of SmackDown. Chelsea Green, Carmelo Hayes and Andrade came out on top in their qualifying matches and are now one step closer to claiming a Money in the Bank contract. Green took on two formidable foes in Michin and Bianca Belair in SmackDown's opening contest. Michin showed great offense in the beginning and landed an eat defeat on Belair before catching Green with a Styles clash, but things began to unravel when she was hit with a clean KOD by Belair. Green, ever the opportunist, shoved Belair off Michin and stole the win to secure her spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Bloodline shenanigans played the following two qualifying matches. Carmelo Hayes faced off against Randy Orton and Tama Tonga in the middle of Friday's show. At one point, Hayes and Tonga came together to put down the Viper, but the veteran Orton managed to quickly bounce back from the combined assault with a hanging DDT. The match spiraled out of control when Tonga Loa came to distract Orton at ringside. Kevin Owens, a man with his own qualifying match later on in the evening, came down to fight off Loa and Tonga, but the distraction provided Hayes with the perfect opportunity to roll up Randy Orton for the victory. Not too long afterwards, Kevin Owens walked out to face Andrade and Grayson Waller for the final qualifying bout of the evening. The Bloodline, still incensed by Owens' earlier interference, attacked Owens during his entrance and left Owens hobbling on an injured knee. Owens became progressively weaker during the match, especially with a sadistic Waller zoned in on the injury. After neutralizing the prize fighter, Waller ran into the ring to attempt a rolling stunner onto Andrade, who expertly reversed Waller's offense into the message, which landed him the victory. Several other Money in the Bank qualifying matches were announced for next Friday's show. On the women's side of things, fans can expect two triple threats next week. Candice LeRae versus Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton, and Indy Hartwell versus Naomi versus recent NXT call-up Blair Davenport. A qualifying match between LA Knight, United States champion Logan Paul, and Santos Escobar is also slated for next week's show. And finally, Chad Gable. An update on Chad Gable after he was brutally attacked by the debuting Wyatt Six Monday night on Raw. On this week's Raw, the Wyatt Six let everyone know they were here and put the entire roster on notice. The devious group meticulously laid out a number of talent and staff backstage and in the production area before making their way to the stage, drinking the crowd's reaction. While there have been a number of guesses on who were among the group's victims, we know for sure that one of them was Chad Gable. Gable was scheduled to compete in a Money in the Bank triple threat qualifying match against Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman next week, but during WWE main event, a graphic aired and showed that Gable had been replaced in the match by Ilya Dragunov. During SmackDown, however, a video from Raw General Manager Adam Pearce was posted to X, announcing Gable would, after all, be competing on Monday, saying, quote, "Despite that attack and despite being severely shaken up, Chad Gable is medically cleared and will compete this Monday in a triple threat match on Monday Night Raw in a Money in the Bank qualifying match against Braun Strowman and Big Bronson Reed." Before the announcement, Pearce noted that WWE's social media accounts had been hacked, but they were now back under control. However, as Pearce began to talk about Gable, the message was interrupted several times by static and flashing images. He closed the video saying, "Thank you for bearing with us, thank you for allowing me to deliver this message, and thank you for the privilege of," before an image of someone's face appeared and the video ended. Now, prior to the on-screen return of the Wyatt 6, one of the QR codes led to a letter saying thank you to the fans. The letter ends by blaming the fans and saying blood is on their hands. So seemingly, again, the Wyatt 6 may have a problem, not only with Chad Gable, but maybe also Adam Pearce. But there you go, guys. The latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.